So this is my 1997 Rover Mini Cooper multi-point injection on the MPI model. I've been having some problems with this not running or not starting. The battery was flat on it, so I ended up jump starting it from a starter pack, which ended up frying the ECU, the Rover MEMS module, which is here. It took a long time to work out that was the problem, so I've ended up putting a replacement MEMS unit in from eBay, reprogrammed it to the immobilizer, so it's all paired up and connected. However, it's still not running, it's still not starting. So what I'm going to do today is trying to work out what that problem is. It's obviously one of three things. It's either fuel, air, or spark. Don't think the air is a problem. I've taken the air filter off and yeah, there's nothing blocking that hole. Everything's absolutely fine. So it's either going to be fuel or spark. So it's been a few months since I last looked at this, so I'm going to have a play around and see what happens. What happens when I try to start it? So I've got the ignition on, car's in neutral, and let's see what happens when we go to start. So lots of cranking, no fuel. I think you can hear the fuel pump priming, you probably can't hear it on the video. It's a bit sluggish on turning over there, the battery's fully charged. So let's go around the engine bay and work out what's going on. So what I've done here is I've taken out two of the spark plugs, as you can see. So we've got a coil here which provides the spark and provides a high voltage to the spark plug. And I can test that using this T300 Diagnostics testing unit. These are available off eBay, about £90. So what I can do is I can go to a coil test program, and if I bring the phone over here, so when it focuses, okay, so if I run the coil test, there, the one on the right just fired, and then the one on the left just fired. Let's see if I can get that a bit closer so you can see it, and we'll run that again. There we are. So I know that the coil isn't the problem, so now I'll start investigating fuel. Now off camera is popped off this, which is the end of the fuel rail. So this is the fuel rail on part of the intake manifold, and then we've got an injector here, another injector here. So I've done a pop the end off that to see if there was fuel getting to there, and there was plenty of fuel. Made quite a mess, poured out. So I've subsequently put that back in, nipped it quite up, nipped it up nice and tight. I've also put the spark plugs back in. So let's see what happens now. Let's see if it will go now. So the car's in neutral. Turn the key and you can hear the fuel pump prime and oh, a little cough. So no, she still doesn't want to go, but there was a small cough there. So next thing I'm going to look at is the fuel actually getting injected into the engine. What I've done now is I've popped the fuel injection manifold off, and I've got the injectors sitting inside two plastic cups. So what I can do using the T300 is to conduct an injector test. So if I go down to injector test, I should fire the injectors, and I'll just run that a few times. One more. Okay, so now we've run that, we should have some fuel inside these cups here. So let's have a look. So yeah. Definitely petrol in that one. If I get this one out, Yeah, there's definitely some liquid in that one. So the injectors are firing, which is good. However, it doesn't solve the problem as to why it's not running. So, are the injectors firing at the correct time? Or are they just slightly blocked and there's not enough fuel getting through? That's the next thing I'm going to look at. So, I'm still convinced it's the injectors which is the problem. So what I've been doing, I've been gently blasting them with an air line. Blasting some compressed air through them, so I've popped them both off. And blown air through them, cleaned them up. I'll put them back into the fuel rail, prime the system again, and see if she runs. Another little problem here, you can see that fuel leaking there is coming out of the injector when the fuel system's primed. What the problem is there is that the O-ring on the back of the injector, where it goes into the fuel rail, has become damaged. I think it might have got damaged when I put it back together, so I need to get a new O-ring for that before I can run the system again. So what I'm actually going to do, I'm going to take it all apart because it's unsafe to run in that condition with the fuel leaking out. Get a new O-ring, try that, and try again. So I finished cleaning the injectors, assembled them back into the intake manifold, put it all back together, and it still won't run. We know that the injectors are clean and they're squirting out fuel. Interestingly, if I put some easy start into the air intake, it will run for a few seconds and then cut out again. It actually runs quite well. So to me, that's suggesting that there is a fueling issue still. Either the timing's out on the fueling, or the injectors aren't providing enough fuel. The data on the diagnostics unit, we have a cam position and a cam demand value. So the cam position is at 1024 degrees. So that's with the ignition on. If we turn the ignition off, that value jumps around all over the place, which shouldn't happen because the cam's not moving. So I think there's an issue there with the cam position sensor. So I'm going to have a go replacing that. The cam position sensor is buried away in the engine. So if I just shine some light down there, so we're behind the exhaust manifold. You can just see there's a wire there that runs into the back of the cam sensor. I'm going to have a go trying to remove that from the engine and replace it with a replacement sensor, then try starting again and see what happens. So I've managed to get the old sensor out, cam position sensor. Wasn't too awkward to get out. That's a new one we're going to put in. Notice that the new one doesn't have an O-ring on it in that groove, but the old one does. So I'm going to try and get the O-ring off the old one carefully and put on the new one, and hopefully that'll stop any oil coming out when the engine's running. Taking the old O-ring off, it perished. Sort of expected. I mean, it's 21 years old if it's original. So what I've done, I've just put an additional O-ring on from a set I've had of various sizes. I've just found one which is the closest. So now I'll try and put this back on the car and see if she runs. Sensor's installed. Just need to reconnect the air temperature sensor. There we are. Car will run without that, but yeah, put it back on. Looking at the live data, we've got a cam position of 665 now. Obviously we haven't turned the engine over, so let's go for a start and see what happens. Ignition's on. It's out of gear. See if she starts. Early. No, but there was something there. Could be because the throttle cable's not connected up quite right at the moment. Give that a second and I'll try again. So because it still wasn't working, I've decided to change the ECU. I just buy a couple of them off eBay. So I've put a second ECU in. I've recoded that ECU using the T300 system, and let's see if it goes. Ignition on. And it's alive! Fantastic! So got it running, got it outside for the first time in well over a year. Seems to be running alright, idling a bit high. But yeah, I think it's alright. I think it just needs a bit of adjustment on the throttle cable. I don't think that quite went back together right. A little bit of white coming out the exhaust, but not too bad. But yeah, it seems to be running fine now, so that's really really good news. I suspect the first ECU I put in, or the replacement ECU, didn't code correctly, because I've actually put that one back in now and recoded it, and it started absolutely fine. So really good news. So that is how you fix a non-starting Mini MPI.